right, lads and lasses, and good day, mates. Welcome to another episode of the Toon Under podcast. Brighton, fucking Brighton won. Newcastle won at the death. I'm Lee. I'm joined by Dimi, Booba, Dimi, Double Lama Lama Lama, Robert Aberding Dong, whatever your name is there, Dimi. Mate, that was minutes away from being an absolute disaster, wasn't it? What's your reaction to the game and the fact that we got a point? Do you see that as one gained or two dropped?
Yeah, before the game, I would have taken a point, to be honest. Just knowing our history at Brighton, it just seems like a team that it's shit. Whether we're home or away, we just don't seem to do well against Brighton. And so a point I would have taken. Obviously, as the game goes on, we'll talk about it in a bit, but we were in pretty much complete control except for the final third, in my opinion. We just didn't have that quality at the front third, and it looked like one of those games that everything was going against us. It just wasn't going to be one of those days, and I think a loss would have been not disastrous, but very close to, given the result with Chelsea later and the pressure that might have put on us. So the fact that we got a point, I think we take a point away from home, which is never a bad result, a draw away from home in the Premier League, and you move on to the big game next week.
It would have been harsh, let's be honest. Like, I think, especially in the second half, but even in the first half, I reckon that we looked we looked like the team that was trying to win, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It was strange from Brighton, actually, because normally, and I was saying this in the chat at the time, I was like, this is weird from Brighton. Normally you expect them to be expansive, possession-based, lots of sideways, lots of backwards, but then they'll kind of do you down the wing or something, and then they'll cut inside, and then you'll find out that you've just been done, you know. And it was like a 4-2-3-1, wasn't it, from them? It was like it seemed to me, I know that two in front of the four is meant to be like a double pivot, but I guess when they're out of possession or something, they'll just drop back to like almost like a 6 at the back or something. They just basically pack out that entire box area, and then they'll stall, you know, they'll keep the ball out, and then by the time everyone else comes back, you've effectively parked the bus in front of your own box. And I felt that was like that seemed like their tactics for pretty much this entire game. And I was sitting there thinking, is this the new manager's way of doing things at Brighton? Because this feels very un-Brighton-like to me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I was hoping they'd be a bit more expansive, to be honest, because defensively they haven't been great this season, Brighton, and I think we're best in a transition game on the counter attack with our pace, especially up the wings. I think that game suits us best. If you park the bus on us and you stack the middle of the area, we seem to struggle, and not only against Brighton, against many teams. That's our one kryptonite that we need to work on in the next couple of seasons. But it was a weird game from Brighton. They were very laboured in possession. It didn't really look like they were going to create any chances, let alone force Popey into saves. And that's why when they scored, it was such a downer. I mean, obviously he was going to score Minteh because every former Newcastle player scores against Newcastle. So that was a downer, and it didn't seem like we were under pressure really the entire game. There was never a moment where I thought, oh, we're under the cosh here, we need to hang on. It was nothing like that. So yeah, very unusual performance. I'm not sure if he identified that we struggle when there's a low block and a defensive 6, as you called it, but yeah, definitely a strange, not a normal Brighton expansive game style.
I've got no problem with, you know, different managers trying different things. You stay the same, you become very stale and very predictable. So I can understand why he might want to come in and do his own thing and change things up a little bit. But they were at home. Like, if this was at St. James's, I'd be like, oh, you know, fair enough. They're doing like a classic away performance. You sit back, you sit deep, you hit them on the break, you score a goal, and you fuck off before they can get back at you. And you say, Terrell, thank you very much. That's a perfect away performance. And they felt a little bit like they were doing that, but at home, which is very, I don't know if I'll ever get used to that from Brighton, if that's how they're going to do things. Let's talk about Craig. I want to get on to Pawson before we even get into the teams. He gave us 2 penalties. Actually, it's funny because I actually thought he was helping us out quite a lot in this game, and I was reading some other comments from Brighton fans and even some Newcastle fans saying, "Oh, this guy's shitting us. Like, we're getting nothing out of them." And I was thinking, are you sure about that? Because the home crowd were cheering every time they got a single decision. because obviously, in their opinion, they were getting nothing from Craig Pawson. And I think that was probably my general impression as well, at least for the first half anyway. Maybe he started to balance things up in the second half. But he gave us those 2 penalties that weren't. So VAR turned those 2 over. And I don't think there were penalties, by the way. The first one, Golden, was outside the box. That's obvious. I don't know if that rule about traveling and continuing the box thing exists anymore. I don't know if it does or doesn't. But there was that initial contact, and that was basically the end of it. So even if that rule does exist, you would say that, well, that's where that happened, and it didn't continue into the box. But it was definitely a foul. Then the one on Willock, where the guy looks for all in the world like he's just about to take him out, and he sort of checks his checks his slide a little bit, doesn't he? He kind of digs his feet in a little bit, and I think Willock's fully expecting that to happen. His steps change a little bit because he expects to get clattered, and he goes down. And not only does he not get a penalty from that one because VAR overturns it, but he also gets a yellow for simulation, which I thought was incredibly harsh. But so Pawson did those 2 things, and then there was the penalty itself, which we were just talking before we came on here. I actually thought he didn't give that initially. I know there was the kind of the follow-on from the free kick, and Wilson probably should have scored when he didn't. And then there's this whole long VAR delay. But you reckon Pawson gave that one, so I'm going to give him a little bit of credit for that one. But I think probably the most egregious of the lot was the one where he didn't give the second yellow card to who we think was Weefer, whatever his name is, for that, let's be honest, industrial challenge on actually, who was it? It was down
Sandro
Tonali. Right, yeah, he was getting a little bit of treatment. I actually said in the chat there, I wonder if they're targeting him because he was getting clattered more times than not. But that was kind of the story of Brighton all day. They were kind of being a little bit niggly, a little bit dirty, doing the dark arts, which apparently is copyrighted by Newcastle and no one else is allowed to do it. But there you are, there's Brighton doing it all the time. So we know Pawson isn't all that great in the first place, but this particular game seemed to be a particular stinker from him. How do you rate his? I know we don't normally talk about referees, but with the fact they gave us essentially 3 penalties.
3 penalties.
Yeah, didn't send one of them off. What did he make of his performance?
Yeah, unusual performance. Performance. I agree. The first 2 weren't pens. I mean, I'm not sure what his angle was. Live, they look clear pens. The Gordon one obviously was a foul. It just happened outside the box. And the Willock one, the way they both came to the ball, it did look like a penalty. I'm not sure what his angle was on that, but it's unusual that a referee gives 3 penalties to the away side within 25, 30 minutes of a game. Very unusual. So that did happen. Obviously, thank goodness he did give the 3rd one, and VAR confirmed it. I was worried he was going to give them a penalty. There was one towards the end where,
yes,
I'm not sure who. That was
before our
that was before our 3rd penalty or before our goal. And I think one of their guys was shielding the ball and sort of got clattered clumsily by Tonali. It was a little bit in it, but it wasn't a clear-cut penalty. It was probably one of those ones, if he's given it live, he's probably not going to be overturned. It's going to be given a penalty. So
I thought that was a penalty. I actually did think that was a penalty.
Especially given he gave us, I think the only thing that saved us there was he's given us 2 and then overturned 2. If he had given a 3rd penalty, but that one was to Brighton, then there would have been a massive kick up. Obviously, thank goodness he did it, and then we're lucky enough the Brighton bloke stuck his arm out and gave us a pen when there was no danger there. I don't think Cher's shot was going in, so we'll take that, and obviously it worked. But yeah, the challenge on Tonali, that's a clear second yellow card. It was borderline red card because he went very aggressively above his ankle. It was not a good challenge, and Pawson was right there too. And
how could he not give it?
You could just, because it was early in the second half, you could just see he's like, I don't really have to give a red card here.
No matter what time it is, it doesn't make any difference what time it is. The guy's already on yellow. It's not like he hasn't been cautioned for dodgy play already.
Well, if he's getting his game marked, he's got about 4 or 5 things wrong. He should be dropped to the bush, like we say here, or dropped to the to the 2nd division, because he's had VAR save him on 2 occasions, and then he's missed that one and potentially missed another penalty for Brighton. So not a good day for Mr. Pawson. But look, we're grateful that he gave us the last one because that point's very valuable for us.
Well, absolutely. I mean, we were just saying again before we came on there, that kind of challenge. So if that happens in the box and he doesn't give it, usually everyone goes raw anywhere else on the pitch. That is a yellow. Here we are, halfway down the bloody pitch, nowhere near the box, nothing. It's just absolutely dumbfounding how he doesn't actually see that as a yellow, and that would have obviously changed the complexion of the game a little bit. Having said that, with Brighton being quite deep and hitting on the break, maybe it wouldn't really change all that much, but it obviously just gives us a little bit more space to play in. I mean, I think to be fair, it's good management from the Brighton guy, the Brighton manager whose name I haven't learned yet. That and this is kind of like an acceptance that Pawson has ballsed it up, isn't it? Where the manager goes, "Fucking get him off, get him off before he changes his mind for the second thing or third thing that he does. Get him off because Pawson's made a clanger there. He's let us off with one. Get him off, because he's going to get sent off at this rate. That's basic good management, isn't it?"
Well, absolutely. I mean, you see that all the time. You see the final warning, or there's been accumulation of challenges. We see it with Joe Linton all the time, and any smart manager knows you got to get your player off because you're not going to get lucky over and over again. And look, Brighton was smart enough to take him off straight away because I'm sure if he was still on the pitch when Gordon was running at him, I'm sure he would have been long gone after that. So it was frustrating for us that we didn't get that red card decision, but you're right. The way Brighton were playing, it probably didn't change much what they were doing. It might have just helped us a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's just talk about the team. So for Brighton, the home team, it was Verbruggen in goal, who actually thought had a pretty good game when he was needed to do some saves. Weaver, who shouldn't have been sent off. Van Heck, Dunk, Estupian, Baleba, Hinchelwood, Minteh, of course, O'Reilly, and Adingra. And then, of course, Welbeck, who actually I thought was quite quiet in this game, Welbeck. Normally, he likes a bit of a goal against us. I even stuck him in my team thinking, this guy's going to get another goal later on like he did last time. And then he barely fucking touched it. Typical. Newcastle was unchanged, actually, from the last game. So it was Pope, Trips, Tino, Shaw, and Byrne. Then it was Willock, Bruno, Tonali, Murphy, Barnes, and Isak. I don't think I would have probably changed anything from the Newcastle lineup coming to this one. I suppose you could probably say, well, maybe Gordon, but Murphy's been banging him in. He's been setting them up. He's been doing very well. Funny enough, as it turns out, in this game, he was pretty poor. There was a bunch of poor performances across the park for us, wasn't it? I mean, I think Tino was getting a little bit too much attention, getting hacked quite a lot. Didn't see a great deal from Shaw. Byrne was doing all right, I think. Willock, I think Willock depends on who you ask. Some people think Willock did very well because he's a runner and he makes things happen because he's just running. Me personally, I think his whole day was summed up when he did that, what looked like an amazing run down the left wing. He dinks it past his man, runs past him with his pace, and then Shola touches the next one and it goes straight out for a goal kick. And I was like, oh, fuck's sake. That's what we're getting from Willock today. That's the Willock that we are seeing today. That kind of summed up his day for me. Bruno didn't feel to me like he was in too much. Tonali was getting a lot of treatment. But yeah, and I think Barnes did very well. And then Isak. Last time I did one of these pods, I can't remember which game it was after. I was like, what's going on with Isak? And I think I was saying that he looked a bit off. He wasn't getting found. He wasn't getting picked out. Now, that's not necessarily Isak's fault if he's not getting found by his teammates. But then it is kind of as well because he needs to be able to make space and he needs to be on the end of things and stuff. What did you make of that team performance? Did anybody in that team sort of stand out as like having a particular stinker? Murphy, I think Murphy just was not at it today, personally.
Yeah, I don't think anyone was awful, to be honest. I think our end product was poor, really, all day. We got, especially I thought in the first half, we got into some really good crossing positions and just chose the wrong option. I think Murphy had a couple of decent crossing opportunities where Isak's waiting on either the 6-yard box or the back post, and we just didn't pick him out. Willock had a couple of crosses that didn't work. Barnes as well. We just didn't have the end product, and that's frustrating, especially in a game like this where the team Brighton sitting back. they're not giving us much space. When we do get in behind their fullbacks, you need to have a bit more quality in that position. So that was frustrating. The one thing I felt that Isaac was getting frustrated. You could tell he was coming deeper and deeper to try and get in the game because we weren't involving him. But this is the issue, I believe, when we play a team who does sit back. Isaac is not your traditional centre forward where you're going to lump it up to him and he's going to hold it up. He's someone who plays, I think, best in a fast-paced transition, balls in behind game, and we didn't find those spaces, or we didn't have those spaces today. And I mean, Isaac is someone who you got to give him the chances to score the goals. He obviously can dribble players and score goals as well, but in a game like this, when teams are sitting deep, he's going to need to be given the service. And our crossing, like I said, I thought was very poor, and set pieces weren't great. It just was a lackluster attacking performance. Defensively, I thought we were quite solid and not too much to complain about. But yeah, going forward, it did look like up until the third penalty, it did look like it was going to be one of those days where we just weren't going to have enough.
But what do you put that down to? I mean, Barnes has been banging them in. Murphy's been banging them in. Isaac, a little bit on hot and cold since the cup final, really, in my opinion. I think he's only scored 3. That's the only. That's still not bad. But you expect him to be doing a lot better somehow. Because we keep talking about how he's worth 200 million. So I guess you're expecting 200 million performances every game. But the likes of Barnes, to me, it seemed like decision making as much as anything.
Yeah.
When there was opportunities to cut it back, we were kicking it across the goal and it was just getting hoovered up. When there was chances to square it, we're taking shots and they're just ballooning over the top of the bar. Like almost every shot just went flying over the top of the bar. Like this ball was filled with helium or something. What do you put that down to, though? Are we just trying? Were we getting frustrated? Are we trying too hard because each of these last games are cup finals in and of themselves?
I don't think it's that. I think we do seem to go on streaks where we score 3, 4, 5 goals in consecutive matches and then go 2 or 3 games without creating much. It just seems like we're that sort of streaky team in an attacking sense. We don't have, and I've been saying this for a very long time, we don't have a natural number 10 that's going to carve out chances, who receives the ball in the little pockets that you can guarantee is going to give you not only goals but create chances week in, week out. We rely upon obviously precision crossing, transition football, and combination play. And with combination play, if one of the combination is a little bit off, or if the pass is a little bit behind, or something doesn't quite work, then you're in trouble, and it doesn't work as easy. And a team can sit back like Brighton and not provide us those spaces, and we can look a little bit bereft of ideas. And the decision making today was, I think, the issue. In a game like this, when obviously the stakes are very high and the game goes on, we're down 1-0, decisions are going against us, I think just builds the pressure and builds the anxiousness in front of goal. And you could just tell everyone was just too anxious in front of goal. Gordon skied one, Murphy skied one. The passes were not quite right. It was just
how many turnovers? How many turnovers did we have? We were just giving the ball away so cheaply.
Uncontested turnovers and just unforced errors, I call them. And it was frustrating because Brighton, for me, they were probably here for the taking today. They weren't that great themselves. They were obviously solid defensively. They scored a really nice goal, but they didn't do anything special that we thought, oh shit, yeah, we're lucky to get a point out of this game. They were there for the taking, in my opinion, if we were sharper in the front third. And for whatever reason, it just didn't work for us today. Maybe it's the hoodoo of the Amex, and we just can't get the 3 points down there. But it was definitely a very disjointed attacking performance.
What is it with the Amex Stadium?
I'm sick of that stadium, really.
What is it? Is it because it's some shitty flat pack and we've got more class? Do they hand out voodoo dolls to everybody who comes along there just to keep stabbing us in the balls every time we get anywhere near it? Why are we so? What is it? I mean, it's not just us. Obviously, any team has a bogey team. Like Arsenal and Spurs must fucking hate it when they see us on the fixture list. Because, Arsenal 3 times this year, haven't beat us, haven't scored a goal. Spurs, just fucking Spurs in it, lads. It's Spurs. But we do seem to do well against those two teams. So from the flip side, they're probably thinking, "Oh, Jesus Christ, Newcastle." But we shouldn't be thinking that about a Brighton team.
Yeah.
I don't mind it if it had been a season or two ago when they were like at their best, but this isn't.
Yeah.
This isn't their best season. Even if they've got the same points or whatever it might be that they're doing in the table, they're still mid sort of table-ish, 8th or whatever it is, and they're not really setting the world on light. They're not scaring opposition. They're not the Brighton that I think anyway that we've come to know. And we shouldn't be going to these places and thinking, "Fucking man, it's this fucking place again." And also, like, of all the seasons to do it, it's probably this one where we're like smashing records left, right, and center.
Yeah.
Done the double over Man United since 1930, whatever it was. Won a League Cup since 1912, or if you're going to do it, probably it's going to be this season. I kind of wonder, did we miss Joe Linton today? Because
Yes.
initially you might think that's not really the kind of team that you might need a Joe Linton, but the way that game panned out, especially with all the niggly fouls and the way they were sitting deep. And I think there was probably a little bit of a lack of aggression in the middle, and Tonali seemed a little bit off it as well, I think. He needs like a Raji, like Joe Linton, to kind of G up the fans, G up the team, do some crunching tackles. Pawson probably pat him on the back and not give him anything because it's Pawson, as we've already discussed. Do you think we maybe missed Joe Linton?
Yeah, this game was right up his alley. The late challenges, the sort of combativeness in the midfield, and the constant fouling of Tonali. I'm sure he would have loved getting some payback on some of their midfielders. And I mean, look, you spoke about Willock before. You're right. He did have some decent moments today, and he carried the ball well. But he's not that physical dominant presence that Joe Linton is. And Joe Linton, I mean, let's call a spade a spade. He probably scares other players the way he charges around the pitch. He's a man mountain. And not to mention he can actually play football as well. He's a wonderful footballer, but he's a man mountain and sort of a bully in that middle of the park. So Willock isn't that. And Willock, for me, is very much a confidence player. When his confidence is on, he'll do those passes like he did against Spurs, one of the best assists that I've ever seen outside of the boot to Isaac in that drubbing. Absolutely. He can do that. He's got the quality to do that, but he also has the quality to be running on his own, charging up the wing and just miscontrolling the ball and out for a goal kick. He also can do that. But it's something that you can't define what Joe Linton gives us, but I think he makes us walk a little bit taller, I think, on the pitch, and he definitely is that unsung leader that we lack today in the middle of the park.
Yeah, I think he's a big miss, and he's going. And it's unfortunate that it's in the last few games when we really could do with them, and it's kind of a watch this space, isn't it? Whether or not we actually see him again. I think the noises are pretty much pointing to the fact that he's done. But I suspect that's going to be a huge loss, especially when you've got the likes of Chelsea and Arsenal still to play, and then you'll have the Everton, who are a difficult team to play usually when they're actually not absolutely shit. But they'll always be a physical team, and we need that Joe Linton physicality to combat it. So we'll have to see how we get on there. I'm not sure who's. I don't think Willock's the ideal replacement for him, as you've sort of just touched on. I don't think we have one. Miley's obviously
very unique. He's such a you can't. There's no like for like replacement for Joe Linton. He's a very, very unique footballer. There are not many 6'4" mountains charging up the pitch who can play football as well. They're great technically on the ball. So he's not someone who's replaceable, but yeah, we're just going to have to do things a little bit differently in the next few games. Hopefully he can get back for maybe the Everton game, but it is definitely a sizable miss when he's not there, literally and figuratively.
Yeah, exactly. I wonder if Sula could do that kind of role,
Oh, he's got the same haircut.
He's got the same finishing skills. But he's a big boy. He's a big lad. He's got the pace.
He's a massive unit, yeah.
I actually thought, I know people like to criticize how for his subs, sorry, but I think I wouldn't have mind seeing what Asula would do with his legs when Willock came off. But, you can't really risk that when the game's in the balance. All right, let's talk about the goals. We've spent 25 minutes yapping on. We haven't even talked about the actual goals. First one was, who else? Tribo Minteh, 28 minutes. I actually think this was against the run-off player, but I might be a little bit biased there. But he receives a very clever cutback, in my opinion. The ball that he receives from, I don't know who it was from, but he kind of like does a 90-degree cutback. It's a very clever bit of play. Finds him in a bit of space. He turns, and I think that's probably the biggest issue here, that he was allowed to turn and face goal. We should never let him happen. Weren't tight enough to him. He cuts into the box, and then whether it's just instinct or he sees what's happening or it's just blind fortune, but he kind of dummies almost or delays his shot. Everyone's expecting him to shoot, and he kind of just takes a little extra touch to move the ball further inwards to the box. Then he shoots, and then if that wasn't luck, this bit was, because it hits Dan Burn. I think there was a smashing header from Dan Burn. Was it a header? I feel like he heads
his back or his chest, maybe.
Was it? I thought he was heading it, but it's a touch. Do you reckon Pope was getting to it anyway, or do you think that touch just took it away from him? But I thought Pope's position was a little bit off.
Yeah, off the boot, it looked like a goal, in my opinion. Anyway, the way it was curling and cut back, I think I'm not too sure whether Popey would have saved it. It looked decent off the boot, even despite the deflection. But you're right with the way you described it. It was the fact that we let him turn, face goal, and have a run at Tino and Sandro. That was the issue. Not that obviously he got the shot off as well. That's not ideal, but someone like that who's got quick feet and he can obviously strike a ball and move to his left. We know he's a left footer. It's one of the things I hate about fullbacks. When the guy you're playing up against, the winger, you know they're one-sided if they're a left footer or a right footer. You never show them inside. You just got to show them to the side. If they go around the outside and they hit a weldy from out wide, fair play to them. You take that, but you can never let them cut inside. And Tino gave him that little bit of space, and he did well to dummy Sandro, and Sandro probably did expect the early shot, and that was a well thought out move, I think, by Minteh. And yeah, it just had to be him. I mean, what else do you say? He's played 2 games against us this year, scored 2 goals. I mean, I'm not sure what else we can say.
What did you make of his celebration?
Very weird. I didn't know where he was going with it, and then he looked initially apologetic, and then he sort of turned and started pointing to the Brighton badge and waving his finger. I don't know. Yeah. He was like he's telling a whole short story. I don't know what he was doing.
I think it was fairly clear. In my mind, it was fairly clear. It was basically saying, I'm not for you. I'm basically for Brighton. This is my home, sort of thing. This is where I belong. And then he was going to kiss the badge, and one of his teammates pushed him away. But I was thinking, mate, we don't fucking care.
Yeah, you never played.
You're welcome to stay in mid-table mediocrity. I don't have any problem with it. You can, but you're going on like as if we've been somehow we've missed out on this.
Yeah,
the next Messi or something. And you might turn out to be that way, but like we never got to see you at all in black and white, so we don't have any basis to give a shit about where you are right now or what you're doing. But that being said, probably could do with them, couldn't we? Down the right
would be handy. Would be handy on the right wing,
right,
cutting inside. He does strike me a bit like a Saint Maximin style player. A lot of flair. His end product, his looks very good, and probably the goals and the highlights that you see are very good, but everything else in between that seems a little bit raw. He doesn't really chase back. He fouls a lot unnecessarily. Doesn't really get involved in any sort of other play. So he definitely seems to me like a player that may not have thrived in Eddie's system and Eddie's style, because he's a bit like that Maxi Maverick type. But yeah, look, him off the bench for 20 minutes would have been nice today, but that's okay. Look, he can say sorry. He can keep doing all these things. I mean, just celebrate, mate. You've never played for us. You were on our books. Just do an Adebayor. Just go celebrate and move on.
Yeah. I think he must have thought we had some affinity to him, but we absolutely. How can we? How can we? But yeah, fair play. Scored the goal. Good on him. And for the next uncomfortable, 60 minutes, it looked like that was going to be the winner, because Newcastle were all farting these shite, as we like to say it. Balled it up in the last third almost every single time. And probably unsurprisingly, given that we already had 2 penalties turned down, it ended up being a penalty that actually managed to rescue us from this 1-0 looming defeat. It was a foul on Barnes. I can't even remember it, but I remember Shaw went to kick it. They had a wall. They had a guy in a draft excluder. Let me just pull up a picture here for anyone who's watching. We have the little slide here. The draft excluders there. All the walls jumping up, and I mean, fair play to him. It's a cracking bit of basketball there, but Yasin Ayari, what Dimi the fuck is he thinking there?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he wanted his countryman Isaac to score. I'm not sure because he's Swedish, so I'm not sure if he had a little
He's
side
looking
chat
at the
to
ball. He's
Isaac
looking
and
at the
said,
ball as he swings his hand out. What's he
maybe he
doing?
said, Alex, I'll give you a penalty here. Watch this. Maybe he did that. I'm not sure.
Has he got a bet on?
Maybe. I'm not going to accuse anyone, but it was very. I was in my opinion, I thought it was a bookable offence for sure. I mean, that's a deliberate handball. The ball's going on target. I mean, I'm not sure how else you can say it's not a deliberate handball. And deliberate handball in the box. I'm not saying it's a red card, but for me, it's clearly a yellow card at the very least because it's denying a goal scoring opportunity. It's a deliberate act. So I'm not sure why our mate Pawson didn't pull out his cards for that incident, but it was, in my opinion, very lucky because I don't think Shah's effort was going into the bottom corner or the top corner. The goalkeeper was fading that way, and yeah, it was that bit of slice of luck that we needed. I was saying to myself, watching it in silence as I do now with a 1-year-old child, I was saying to myself, please don't let Shah hit this because he hits it exactly the same spot every single time, and it's either going to go into the wall or it's going to go over the bar. And it did go into the wall this time, but thank goodness this clown left his arm out.
Yeah, and look, I mean, you look at that screenshot there, and it's fucking so obvious. But VAR still took,
I don't know what they
still took the entire lunchtime to kind of decide what was going on here. What are we looking at here? Why did it take so fucking long to do what was blatantly obvious for everybody with eyes watching this game? What was going on with VAR? It was like everything at this game just took for ages with VAR.
It was like they were checking if it was an offside. They were like zooming in on some sort of push. It's I don't know if it's just us or it happens in every Premier League game, but it seems like when we get a penalty, they go through every single millisecond of incident before and after it to see if they can disallow it. It's just ridiculous. I mean, look at the referee's position right there. You can see on the screen grab. He's looking right at it. It's as clear as day. No need for VAR to get involved in that one. Let's get the penalty taken and let's move on. I mean, yeah, it's frustrating because obviously at that point we're down 1-0. We're shitting bricks. Maybe ice cold Isaac's not shitting bricks, but deep down I'm sure he's a bit nervous. And we're all waiting, and eventually, obviously, the right decision was made. But yeah, we could do without the 3-4 minute fine tooth comb review from VAR every single bloody time.
Yeah, I mean, what was like 10 minutes extra time or 9 minutes, wasn't it? At the
9,
end of all this,
should have gone longer too.
It should have. Yeah. That's the other thing that pisses me off. It's like, well, look, at least be fucking consistent in your own rules. Like, if you're going to add on extra time, during the game,
there was 3 subs. There was 3 subs in injury time, so that's 30 seconds per sub. So that's 1.5 minutes.
Madness.
And he's blown right on the 9 minutes. So I don't know how that's worked.
It was 9 minutes and 15 seconds. I remember that because I was looking at it going, I was expecting another 2 minutes there. What happened here?
Yeah.
But you reckon from this free kick that Pawson actually allowed the advantage, so the ball comes through, and then Wilson, who I think should have done better, really, to be honest with you, and he doesn't score, and then you reckon Pawson blew the whistle and pointed to the spot. Then
he did. I think one of my bugbears is when something like this happens. I mean, it might not be a handball, but it could be a foul in the box, and the ball breaks to someone who scores. I've seen before referees stop the goal happening and give the penalty, whereas the greater advantage is actually the goal. So because that ball was bouncing up for Wilson 6 yards out, who had a very good chance to score, I think he did the right thing there, waiting for whether Wilson would score. If he did score, there was no way he was pulling it back. Well, you'd hope not. And the fact that he didn't score and it was a great save, that's why he blew a delayed whistle, because the Newcastle players were up straight away. They were screaming, saying, "What are you doing? This is handball."
Yeah.
And the only one who wasn't paying attention was Wilson, who missed his header, and the Brighton goalkeeper, who made a great save. So thank goodness it was he kept his nerve, Craig Pawson, and he didn't get amnesia for that split second, and he gave the penalty.
Speaking of keeping nerve, seamless segue here. What about our Swedish striker Isak?
Yeah.
I mean, given the enormity of the need to get points out of this game, given that we are sort of, trying to get Champions League and make this probably if it's not already, which I think it is anyway, one of the greatest seasons that we can all remember in our lifetimes, going back even further than that, probably for a lot of us. I still, even though I know he's a lethal striker, I still was sitting there thinking, he's missed one. Please do not miss this one. But I mean, he just gets up there, gives the keeper the eyes, and he buries it in the opposite corner. It was an absolute class penalty. Like, I don't know how the guy does it. I'd be shitting myself. Amazing.
Well, yeah, and not just that, he barely had a chance all game. I don't think he did have a shot all game besides that. So it takes a lot of balls to step up at that moment, and last minute, your kick is going to decide whether we get a point in this game or not. And obviously, the stakes are huge. We're talking about Champions League football, so it was a big moment for him and us. And yeah, I mean, you trust him to make the right decision. And yeah, I'm glad he doesn't do any dinky chip or anything like that. He just blasted either side of the corner, and we got the goal. And I was hoping we were going to push on for the winner, but look, at that moment, you take the point and you move forward, because yeah.
Honestly, I would have taken the point at the start. I actually thought it would be a 2-2. It's a 1-1. I would have taken the point, given that it's Brighton, given that we do absolutely shit down there usually, and I think points are more important than performances, is the way .com put it. And I think that basically succinctly sort of wraps it up. It is essentially get the points, don't give a shit really at the end of the day how you perform it. Now, obviously, we've dropped 2, but we still got the 1, and the 1 maintains our position in the table. It means that it's still very much in our hands. And in fact, let's have a look at the table while we're yapping on about it. So he's the top 10. Liverpool, obviously, champions. I can't see what the score is there. The points. No, I can. It's 82 points.
82.
Yeah. Arsenal on 67, City on 64, Newcastle on 63. So had we have won this, we would have been 2 points behind Arsenal. And then we would all be getting very giddy about ourselves and, talking about top 2 finishes and what have you. But it doesn't matter. You get a few extra million. Yes, I know that does matter, really, in today's world. But what the target is to finish top 5 and get that guaranteed Champions League. That's the focus. So it's Liverpool 82, Arsenal 67, City 64, Newcastle 63, and then Chelsea on 63 after they beat Liverpool's reserves 3-1, I think it was. Cheers, Liverpool, for not doing us a favour there. Already on the beach. And then it's Forest in 6th on 60, level with Villa. On 60 as well, but with a superior goal difference, I assume. Then it's Bournemouth on 53, Brentford on 52, and then Brighton have took up their traditional position of mid-table in 10th on 52. Sounds a little bit sour grapes when I say it like that, but that's kind of what they do, isn't it? Them and Brentford, basically in Bournemouth, still having a good season in the end of the day. But look at us, in 4th, 3 games to go. 3 points ahead of Forest in 6th, and Villa in 7th on 60 points as well. I guess when you boil it down, Dimi, we've just got to win our games, right? I mean, if we win our games, we are guaranteed Champions League, whatever happens to anybody else. Can we have... We've got a superior goal difference, so you could argue that we can lose another game as well.
Yeah.
How do you see this running? Let me get the fixtures up for the running actually before you talk about that, because our next game is Chelsea at home. Then we've got Arsenal away, and then we've got Everton at home as the final game of the season. So we have 3 games. At least 2 of those 3 are going to be very, very difficult opposition. Chelsea being the first of those 3, Arsenal will be the next ones. Chelsea have still got something to play for. Arsenal probably don't. I don't suppose they're going to get through at the Champions League final. Against PSG. When do they play PSG?
Thursday morning.
Thursday, right? So that'll be the week after then, I guess. So their season could be done by the time of the playoffs. They might just be doing it for pride at that point. And then Everton, well, it's just basically roll the dice. So bring up the table again. 4th place, 63 points. How do you see this running?
Look, I think the fact we've got 2 out of the last 3 at home is a massive advantage for us. I mean, we did go through that spell at home where we were struggling, but that was against sort of the mid to lower ranked teams where we weren't sort of up for these games. But there's no doubt we're going to be up for these next 2 home games, especially the one coming up against Chelsea. And I think our goal difference is going to become massively important, because not only we're 3 points clear of Forest and Villa, but we're also 9 goals and 15 goals respectively clear of them. So that's effectively another point. They're not going to make up those goals in 3 games. So they've got to beat our total in the next 3 games by 4 points. So 9 points available. They've got to beat us by 4 points. My maths makes it pretty clear that if we get 2 wins out of the 3, we make it comfortably. We might not even need the 2 wins, but 2 wins for sure guarantees us the top 5 finish, and we've got 2 home games to do that. So I think it's well and truly in our hands. And I mean, yeah, it would have been nice if Liverpool did us a favour this morning, but not to be. And I mean, Chelsea have got a Europa League game or a Conference League game as well. Even though they're 4-1 up on their first leg, they've got a Conference League game on Thursday night. So who knows what that's going to do to them. And they've also got to play Nottingham Forest on the last day of the season away from home, which could be for all the marbles for both those teams. So, I mean, it's all in our hands. This is where we want to be. We want it to be in our hands, not looking over our shoulder saying, oh, we have to wait for this result, for that result. So we only have to focus on ourselves. And I think if we can get a win this weekend coming against Chelsea, we're just about there, to be honest. We're probably going to be very close to being secured into top 5. So, yeah, it's a massive 3 games. And the difference between Champions League football and Europa League football, and all due respect to the Europa League, is enormous in terms of the finances and the players that you can attract. And it just, for me, to top off this season, to finish in the top 4, top 5, it would be absolutely sensational. And the players, in my opinion, deserve it. They've been great. Eddie's been great. It's been a wonderful season, the season that none of us have seen, and we haven't seen anything like this before in terms of trophies and what have you. So, I mean, we're so close that we can touch it, but we've still got two massive games, especially 2 massive games at home to go. And yeah, I'm very, very confident that we'll get the job done at home. And I mean, the Arsenal game may become a bonus for us. Whether we get a result or not, who knows? But the 2 home games for me are the ones that we need to fully target getting the 3 points. And if we do, we'll be well and truly clear.
Yeah. 2 things. I really want us to beat Arsenal just for the absolute banter of it. I want to see Lego Head lose his absolute shit. If they played us 4 times this season, especially if they don't score. Imagine
That'd
that.
be funny. Yeah.
Imagine that. Argue that one with your fucking weird balls excuse or whatever it was.
Yeah.
What was the other thing I was going to say? I forget what the other thing was. No, that's right. Yeah, I think you put it well there. This is exactly where we want to be.
Yeah.
This is where you want to be at the end of the season. You want to be fighting for something still, and that's before you even remember the fact that we've already won something.
Yeah.
This, even if personally, to be honest with you, even if we don't get Champions League, this has still been the best season in my lifetime. It's been because we haven't won anything until now. So this is, you got to remember that we've actually physically won a thing. And it's funny that you win it and then the season keeps on going and then your target shifts. Like if that was the last game of the season, everyone would be thinking, naturally, this has been the best season of my life. But I think sometimes your focus kind of moves on a little bit when it's the last 6, 8 games of the season, whatever it was, you've still got something else to concentrate on. And you sort of forget a little bit that the greatest moment of our entire lives watching this football team happened this season, just a few weeks ago. I've got the flag behind me because I'm never going to forget it. I've got the shirt over there. I'm never going to forget it. It's been the best season ever. Not even pneumonia could knock out Eddie Howe. That's how fucking good a season this has been. Nature itself couldn't beat this team. So I just try it as hard as it tries. And regardless of what happens, honestly, it'll be disappointing if we don't get Champions League, but it's still been the best season that we should all remember, and we should all remember fondly going forwards, and we shouldn't be too quick to jump on the backs of people. I see people complain that Eddie Howe's substitutions were shit, and that's why he's not an elite manager. It's like, dude,
it's the same people, mate. It's the same
we
people.
won a fucking trophy with this guy. What are you talking about? You can disagree with his subs. That's fine, but don't come out there saying he doesn't know what he's doing and stuff, because he's won us a fucking trophy. He won the trophy. He did. Not you, not me, not Dimi. Eddie Howe did with this team. That guy, he deserves your respect. All right. I'll move on before I get political. Let's just wrap this up, Dimi. We've managed to talk 45 minutes for a 1-1 draw with Brighton. Christ almighty. I think I deserve a trophy just for this one. Who was your man of the match? And then we'll just finish it there.
I'm going to give it to Harvey Barnes. I thought he was dangerous all day. He looked good on the ball, lively, and he was the one who actually won us that free kick that led to the penalty. So Harvey Barnes for me.
Yeah, it gets the 3 points for me as well, Harvey Barnes. I particularly like that moment in the second half where he just seemed to think to himself, fuck you lot. I'm going to grab this game by the scruff of its neck, and I'm just going to I'm going to rage it for like 2 minutes. I'm going to pick up the ball. I'm going to run along the edge of the box. I'm going to kick a shot. Oh, it got blocked by the guy. Well, guess what? I'm still after the ball. I've nicked it from your feet because you don't know where the ball is. I'm going to take another shot. I'm going to cross it. I'm going to dink it or whatever he did. And I love that moment. I love that kind of, just leave it to me, lads. I'm going to try and make something happen here since nothing else seems to be working. I love that. And he's a player that needs to play more, I feel, in this team. Obviously, he's getting a lot of attention now that he is getting the games, but before he was getting this little run, people were saying, oh, sell him. He's the easiest one to sell for PSR, blah, blah, blah. Nah, he's a quality player. He's a Premiership-proven winger who can score goals and make things happen. You don't sell those. You keep those. You sell your shite. Keep the good ones. Sell the shite. That's the tick. The trick is to find someone to buy your shite. All right?
Yep.
Don't sell the good stuff. Sell the shit. All right? Shouldn't be that difficult. You just got to find some stupid buyers somewhere if they exist. Anyway, let's leave it there. Dimi, thanks for your time, mate. 1-1 to Newcastle. We are in fourth. It is still in our hands. Chelsea next. That will be a tough one. And hopefully we will see you all back for the preview, possibly, but definitely a review of that game. And we'll see where we are with 2 games remaining after that one. So thanks, Dimi. Thanks to everyone else. And we'll see you for the next one.
Cheers, mate.